Oh, snap.
Whoo! 4 weeks left, huh?
God.
Bittersweet.
Yeah.
There was, let me see if I can find it. There was an interesting stat I saw. Hang on, I'll find it. I'll find it.
You mean other than Derrick Henry still being second in rushing?
No, even more interesting than that. Hang on a sec.
I think that just says more about the league anymore.
I
we'll
mean,
talk about Steph Curry, so I gotta find it. No.
I mean, closest running backs that would probably be the running backs who would get the closest to Derrick Henry is probably like Chubb, who's been injured.
Cook, if he wouldn't
Jonathan
stop getting
Taylor.
injured.
Mixon is third.
Yeah,
Well,
by the
Cook
way.
is second, I think.
Yeah, I think Cook finally passed him for second. Didn't he get injured though? Because it's about that time of year.
I think he was at second before last week.
I mean,
he already had his injury. Now he just has like the half a game injuries. No, so the Rams' victory by the Rams winning Monday night. Every team in the NFL has 3+ losses through Week 14 for the first time since 2014. And 0 teams have clinched a playoff spot with 4 weeks left for the first time since 2017.
Yep.
And not only that, as far as I know, only like 2 teams have been officially eliminated.
The Lions and Texans. And aren't they playing?
Texans and Jets.
Oh, Jets.
Yeah. Lions are technically, I think, still in it.
Lions are still technically.
Yeah.
It's not very likely, but technically, my understanding is they are still technically in the hunt.
Mathematically, they're still in.
At 1-11-1, which is a little satisfying.
Right?
Don't make me go through all my Pendleton shirt to start quoting Dumb and Dumber. I'll do it.
Oh, I know you will. I know you will.
Let's get the hair I like. Let's put this down, and I'll get some Lloyd going.
This is true.
From what I hear, he's more of a cub.
Oh my.
I just thought he's a little spoon.
Maybe he's a pitch hitter. Depends on what is needed.
Yeah.
So there was some games. Some football happened.
Or I mean, we can start just by looking at this.
The playoff machine.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see if I turn my phone because I don't have your fancy laptop. Hey, it helps.
Man, who'd have thought that the Patriots would be a higher seed than the Buccaneers?
Considering you have Old Man River with a Walker out there quarterbacking the Buccaneers.
But again, did you really think at the start of the season the Patriots would have a higher seed than the Bucs?
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
So it does that kind of help establish Bill Belichick and his coaching legacy.
Well, then the other one is like, after all the drama they had, who thought that the Packers would be in the lead?
Yeah, I feel like they kind of fumbled and stumbled their way in there.
They have, but they're still there.
But at the same time, if I could go into work on a Monday and be like, listen, here's where y'all suck. And then walk out a success after this long. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't love Aaron Rodgers, but
he can get bent.
I appreciate the balls.
Yep. Well, not only that, so since that blowout loss to the Saints, their other 2 losses were by, let's see, a combined 9 points.
Yeah.
They are 9 points away from going on a 12-win streak. Yes, from Gawning.
Come in under the Gawning.
That's pretty fucking impressive considering going in we're like, other than Rodgers, who do they have?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Some damn BYU running back, and that's about it. Devontae Adams. I mean, that's our team.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Well, it's basically Devontae Adams. Jones has been inconsistent. Pollard's been there, but yeah.
I don't know about that. I feel like they just didn't use Jones in this last game. They just leaned on the rookie.
I mean, other than that, he got like 2 touchdowns and 86 yards.
Oh, he still killed it. Like in limited role, like he killed it. He still got me like 20 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We got games to talk through.
Yeah, we do.
So something that was interesting is, did it feel like there was a whole bunch of games that had pick sixes this weekend?
Yes.
It was though.
Because I can think of it, like it felt like there was at least 3 defensive touchdowns just in the morning games.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
And also, there was a bunch of games that started as blowouts that almost ended up as upset.
Right.
Starting with,
Yeah.
Yep.
Vikings Steelers.
I mean, if that wasn't the perfect example of why I have zero faith in this team, but I've been super pessimistic, I don't know what is, guys.
It was the Vikings being the Vikings to the Viking degree.
Yep.
And if it weren't for Chase Claypool being an immature idiot.
Well, here's what's interesting about that. I don't know if you've actually watched that video.
Oh, yeah. And he's going to say, I got the ball stripped.
He did that after Anthony Barr knocked the ball out of his hand, which should have been a flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blaming it on getting stripped or not, I'm sorry, but...
Oh, yeah, you're like, Claypool's like a bragger, but still, at best, that, like, at worst, that cost his little pose cost him like 3 seconds. Barr's knocking the ball away cost more time than Claypool's pose, which he didn't start until after the ball got knocked out of his hand.
You mean a smart defensive play?
After the whistle's thrown, that's a penalty. After the whistle's blown, that's a penalty.
I know. But 3 seconds is still 3 seconds, especially when you're that close to the goal line.
Oh, no, it's still stupid of it.
That's a play.
But
yeah.
If they had like actually flagged Barr when they should have, that actually would have saved him like 15 seconds.
When a dude named Juju is the adultiest adult in your receiving corps, you know you have problems.
Yep. Well, I even made that comment that Claypool is just a worse Juju. Not as effective in the passing game, not as effective in the TikTok.
Nope.
I mean, it's also telling that you can have your running back go off for 205 yards rushing, and still have it come down to literally the last play of the game.
Again, the Vikings are the Vikings are the Vikings. To quote, oh God, Denny Green, they are who we thought they were.
We thought they were.
Yep. Well, and I think honestly that's the worst part is that I was actually kind of hoping that they would blow that victory because that basically would guarantee they would get rid of Zimmer, if not Spielman. But by still managing to hold on, there's still that chance they'll keep around for another year. And I'm like, no, just rip the Band-Aid off, move on.
This will be the time to do it. But they still have playoff hopes, especially with how the rest of the week turned out.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing: if they barely miss the playoffs, there's still a chance they keep them around, and that's why they just need to like just fall on their face so they can move on and get better.
They're not going to.
Oh, I know they won't.
I mean, how long did y'all keep Denny Green around? Doing the same.
And forget that. How long do we keep Christian Ponder around?
About as long as you kept Brad Childers around, which I just would never feel safe around a child.
Yeah, but either way,
and that comes from a mustache man.
Yeah, Brad Childress was the creepy version of Bill Cowher. The creepy, less successful version of Bill Cowher.
Which speaking of which, you think Steelers football, and you're going to think hard-nosed, tough football. It's their brand.
Yeah.
And Mike Tomlin has done a fantastic job of keeping that going.
Yeah.
And then you get Juju, you get Chase Claypool, and you go, what the hell happened, Mike? You've lost the team or you've just grown too old. Which is it?
What's sad is on paper they have
receivers.
Say what?
Yeah, it's they got really talented players on offense. They're just divas or not executing. Like Najee Harris, hell of a running back.
At the same time, look at what Connor's done in Arizona. You know what? Everything he couldn't do in Pittsburgh. So is Tomlin the problem? And that's weird to ask because the guy has how many 10-win seasons?
So one thing I will say in defense of Connor is look at the season where Connor wasn't great. It was a season where they had to rely on no, not Mason Rudolph.
Oh, Mason Rudolph. Oh, the helmet to the head, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't fault Connor for how awful they were offensively last year. That was a lot of things beyond Connor's control. Because the year before that, he had a hell of a season when he took over as a running back for Bell. I think was it Bell? Yeah, that was the year. I think Bell got hurt or left or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm sure they let him walk just so they didn't have to pay him. And on top of that, like they knew they wanted out of the draft, and he was coming off an injury. So,
well, not only that, what has Bell really done since then? Like, yeah, he was playing for the Bucks, but that was like
Connor.
Yeah. What? No, he was a Chief. Never mind. I was gonna say, didn't he get a ring?
Was he a Chief? I thought he also ended up on the Bucks too.
No, I know he was a Chief. I don't think he was a Buck. No. I think that was just Antonio Brown.
Yeah, he was.
I'm gonna fake my COVID ID card.
Oh yeah, okay. So I guess it was a Chief.
They talked about him reuniting with Brown in Tampa, but he joined the Ravens instead.
Well, no, that also might not be in Tampa anymore.
Yeah. He left the Chiefs on bad terms. I'll never play for Andy Reid ever again.
He leaves everywhere on bad terms.
Gotta burn them bridges.
Where's he gonna end up next? Vegas?
I mean, it's kind of hard to burn bridges more than it's already happened.
I mean, Kenyon Drake's gone for the season. They probably need a number 2.
Yeah. If Seattle hadn't snatched up AP, I bet he would have ended up in Vegas.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But since we're on halfback talk too, Saints and Jets, the Saints live and die by Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, but also it's hard to read into that because it was the Jets.
It's true. But I think without Alvin Kamara, like they wouldn't have scored 30 points.
No, because either Mr. Krabs or Taysom Hill is not the guy to get you there.
Wait. Are you saying that Taysom Hill is not a starting caliber quarterback?
I'm saying I'd rather have Max Hall and his mugshot starting over Taysom Hill. Because at least he can close a fourth quarter.
Yeah, but Max Hall doesn't like you.
Neither does Taysom.
I mean,
but I still see him on damn bank commercials here locally.
Wait, really?
BYU grad. Yeah, Zions Bank. Go figure.
Max Hall, Mr.
No, not Max Hall.
Taysom. Oh, Taysom Hill. Okay, that makes sense.
Got arrested.
Sorry. We digress.
We do.
Yeah.
All right. That went the way to be expected.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson starting. You don't have Elijah as a wide receiver. He's done for the season. They don't have a running game. Best they have is a defense. It's just going to get worked over by the offense because their offense can't be out in the field. Yeah.
Man, I'm looking at Wilson's stat line. 19 of 42 for 202 yards.
Isn't he on pace to break Derek Carr's being sacked record?
Oh, is he?
I know he was earlier in the season, but I'll be honest, it's the Jets. I've had a hard time keeping any interest at all.
I'm curious about that.
I'm pretty sure Jets fans feel the same.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, I could show up in a fur coat and pantyhose and do my best.
This was as of October 3rd. He was on pace.
Yeah.
15 times in 3 games. Wow.
Yeah. How bad is that offensive line?
Well, granted, this was October.
Offensive line.
And this is the same team that got Mr. Butt Fumble to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row.
Let's see.
But they miss Rex Ryan now.
Yeah, now they're the shovel fumble. Peg my running back in the back.
So here's a fun stat. This was a few months old.
Wait, you're pegging your running back?
Did you not see Wilson's play?
You never?
No,
I
scrambled.
I did.
I'll pull it up on YouTube for you.
I think he was more focusing on what you're doing to running back, not that it was running back. So fun stat. At one point, Zach Wilson had the most sacks and hurries on the season. You all know who was number 2?
Kirk Cousins?
No. Surprisingly relevant. Derek Carr.
Like my brother before me.
really is a family affair they got going on.
Oof.
Did they finally get rid of Incognito? I think they did, actually.
No, actually, I think he's. I'm pretty sure he's still playing.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he's still playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that game went about how we all expected.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the next game went about how we expected, I think.
I was going to say, Sean Payton is an actual coach, so.
I mean, yeah. But it's coach without a team, basically.
I know. I feel bad for the dude. But how do you replace the third best quarterback of his generation?
I mean, that's fair. That is fair. It's
by putting out bounties on all the other ones.
Womp womp. In his defense, I'm curious how different their season would be if what's his name hadn't gotten hurt.
Mr.
Wilson, Jameis. Because here's the thing: he's not a great QB, but he's sure better than Simeon or Hill.
He threw 30 freaking touchdowns. What, 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, and that was without being blind as a bat.
Yeah. And if you really think about it,
basic.
If you count his pick sixes, it would have been about 36 touchdowns.
Look, there's still
and
touchdowns.
He has his own 30 for 30 special.
Still count. He's actually got his only 30. He's the only person with a 30 for 30.
Yep. But there's a reason why Denver got rid of Trevor Siemian. I mean, he's one that
got rid of him.
you look at him for half a minute, you're like, okay, I see why he got drafted. At the same time, you watch him for more than a game, and you're like, I see why you got cut.
Yep. Yeah, that guy has he's had a career.
I think that's Ryan Leaf.
Yep.
Good way to put it.
Falcons Panthers.
Yeah.
How about the revival of Cam's career? How's that going?
You know, and I saw this in the last 11 games that Cam Newton has started for the Panthers. They are 0-11.
It looks like he got benched again.
Yep.
They brought in Walker, was it? Mm-hmm. Who had and apparently so they brought in Walker, they benched Cam, brought in Walker. Walker's first pass was an interception. Then, from what I understand, it said they brought in Cam again.
Maybe they fire a quarterback coach?
I mean, it's possible.
Or if they just say, Christian, you're going to run a Wildcat the whole time.
We know you're on a broken leg and have COVID, but get out there. You got heart.
The hope of Carolina's riding on you. Oh, the South, boy.
Oh, God.
It's kind of sad when Matt Ryan passes for under 200 yards and he still does a lot better than your quarterback.
Yeah.
Swap it. Like, you look around at the statistics on the rest of the team, too. It's like no one did stellar. No one really carried the game.
I mean, Anderson and Moore they had a solid stat line.
Yeah.
7 of 84 for a TD, 6 of 84. Those are solid stats, but that's it. Those were the only saving graces. You can tell if they don't have McCaffrey, they don't have anything, which is fair. That's fair, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Cam was the leading rusher.
Yeah.
So Chuba Hubbard wasn't getting it done.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, though, I feel bad, but I'm also good for Cordarrelle Patterson that he's finally found a niche in an offense where they're like, hey, they've been able to do what every team tried to do with him. It's just sad that it's with a 6-7 Falcons team.
It is. Yeah. It is. And I can't think of the last time I saw a wide receiver successfully run the ball this often.
Yeah. This year we got two. We got two wide receiver running backs.
We'll get there.
Who?
Debo.
Oh, Debo. That's right.
Yeah, again, 6 rushing touchdowns.
Like, before this year, if you said, there's going to be a couple of wide receiver running backs, you're just like, what? We got 2 of them.
It's a different position.
I know that's always the NFL's a league of parity. And I'm just kind of thinking about last year compared to this year. Last year, I'm like, great quality football, every week. I get to see something fun. And this year it's, what the hell am I watching? Why is that wideout? Okay, that's cool. Let's go.
Though what's interesting is it really does feel like the parity is the highest it's ever been this season. Just because it's like, I can't remember a time where there was never a team to beat. There is no, like, they are clearly the front runners. They're the ones you'd like, because every single team to beat has a couple really bad losses. You're like, how did you lose that game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks are vulnerable, the Packers are vulnerable, and the AFC, it's anyone's damn guess.
Even the NFC, like both sides, basically, other than maybe the division leaders, like the top 3 division leaders, all the other spots could easily change by the end of the year.
I mean, even think about it, like playoffs aside, no one's locked their division either.
Yeah.
Like we have no division winners yet either.
Well, not only do we have no division winners, Arizona was the only team who even had a chance to win their division this week.
Yep.
Last night.
So
and the little man couldn't get it done.
Yeah. We're not there yet, though. We're not there.
Sorry. I apologize. He's a widower.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, here, we'll stay in the division, though. We got Seahawks, Texans.
True, which I assumed the Seahawks were going to win.
Yeah. Wilson had a solid stat line in fantasy.
Everyone assumed the Seahawks are going to win. I mean,
everyone assumes everyone's going to win against the Texans this year, except for the Titans.
I mean, you got to give Davis Mills some credit, though. 330 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions.
Yeah. And when I see...
Also, who's Davis Mills?
I loved when I was reading the coach's comment of, we're keeping Mills as our starter because we feel he gives us the best chance to win after going 0-5 as a starter. And I'm like, good Lord, I'm going to go to Houston and be an NFL quarterback.
Well, it's like, okay, clearly they're not going to play Watson.
No.
So their choice is Mills, Driscoll, or Tyrod Taylor.
I mean, if Tyrod doesn't get stung... Yeah, I was going to say, if Tyrod Taylor doesn't get stabbed in the lung, he does pretty well.
Yeah. But that's like saying, like, if Dalvin Cook doesn't get hurt this year, we're good.
Way to charge her right into that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, wow. Shad Penny went off. They needed that, apparently.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing them go forward because...
Their running back room is a mess.
Yeah, they're so Jekyll and Hyde with it. Like, I'm really surprised they didn't commit to like using DJ Dallas. Instead, they went with Alex Collins, who's old.
Yeah.
Yeah, then Collins got hurt, and then they went to Homer, and then they went to...
it's like you have Dallas, who is a really good home run running back, and you don't use him. Like, okay, because he's very much like Pollard for the Cowboys. Penny's healthy, which is great. Yeah. You don't use him. So it's like, yeah, you're going to make bad decisions with the running back core you have, and you're probably not going to have a running game for a majority of the season.
So let me ask you this. Even if they make the playoffs, is Pete Carroll done in Seattle?
Only if he decides to leave. And I don't think he's leaving yet.
I could see him do it if Russ gets his way and leaves the team. Because there's already chatter. Like, they have a shot at the playoffs. They're even winning. And there's still that whisper out there, articles coming out that he wants to leave.
The whole trade to the Giants rumor.
Here's why I don't think he will. It's like, so all of the top college locations that he might go to have been filled. So, like, okay, what college team would he leave for?
Oregon.
Point?
I think he retired.
From what I hear, oh no, never mind. They almost got the Georgia guy.
Yeah,
but even then, like,
they were talking Chip Kelly.
Well, no, that fell through. But also, they were talking to Georgia's defensive coordinator. But again, it's Oregon is very different from USC. USC, you have a bunch of boosters you got to deal with. Oregon, you got Phil Knight.
Yeah,
that's essentially a Jerry Jones situation.
Which, by the way, I got to watch them lose twice in person this year, and it felt so damn good.
Yeah, I believe it. Those are some fun games to watch. But, but okay, so I don't. That's literally the only destination really I could see him trying from the NFL. And on top of that, so if not doesn't go to college, where does he go in the NFL?
He retires.
Chicago.
I don't think he wants to retire. He doesn't seem like someone ready to retire yet.
I think
But
he
at the
is.
same time, does anybody really want to coach in Chicago?
Matt Nagy's there, and he clearly doesn't want to coach.
Hammer's refusing to focus.
You're good.
Focus.
Yep.
I
just thought we took my
I can
glasses
see him
off.
full on retire.
I think I see him trying one more season, and then if it doesn't go well, that's when he goes, okay,
Ooh,
now he throws in the towel.
He goes to Jacksonville after Urban Meyer gets canned.
Honestly, that I could see happening.
Same.
Yeah.
That seems a lot more likely than any of the other
quarterback, a solid running back room, a good defense.
I mean, I knew Trevor Lawrence would have a rough rookie season, but I didn't think it was that bad.
And he's not going to mature with Meyer.
No, but at the same time, think about how many quarterbacks had a really rough rookie season. Hallowed be his name, John Elway, Peyton Manning. I mean, we all can't be
rough.
Yeah. But also, look at what Jacksonville has versus what Seattle had when Pete Carroll took over. They have a solid run game, potential star quarterback, some solid receivers, actually a lot of great pieces on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And if he takes over and does the draft well, he could make a serious run with that team, especially in the division they're in.
Well, he does a great job drafting defense, but Carroll sucks at picking up offensive pieces.
Yeah, but honestly, that team has
outside of wide receivers. I'll give him that. He does pick up some talented wideouts.
But it's like, okay, other than shoring up the offensive line, what else does that team really need on offense? Because look at the running. A what?
Leadership in a running game.
They get Etienne back next year.
They get Etienne, but also James Robinson is 1,000-yard running back. They just don't use him for some. Like, he got 3 rushes this Sunday,
and that's where the leadership comes into play.
Yeah,
and not only that, look at what the division they're in. Houston's Houston, Colts with Wentz, and then Titans. Yeah, they have Henry, but we see what happens when they don't have Henry.
Well, hold on. You mean Colts with Wentz and Taylor?
Yeah,
that's a dangerous option.
At 7-6.
I know.
So again, it's and the Jags have the pieces to have a solid defense. Like if they've won a lot of games where you're like, really? The Jags won that or kept it close? Really? So that I could see because Meyer, I'll maybe one more year.
Maybe.
And that's another reason why I could see Carroll lasting one more year and then moving on to Jacksonville.
I'm going to say this, I could see the Broncos getting rid of Fangio as well.
Yeah, and that's another destination I could see him ended up at.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I can see more vacancies next season than this season. Because in the reality of this season, you might get Chicago,
which I don't think anyone wants.
Yeah, and then Minnesota is a giant maybe. Less likely. But
Minnesota's going to keep their coach.
I really hope they get rid of it at the end of the year, but
they won't.
They will. Oh, the other problem is also that they don't need to also get rid of their GM.
Yeah, but they won't.
Started on Spielman.
Hey, there's the Raiders.
They just signed their coach to a 10-year contract? Because that's what the Davis family likes to do. Somebody ought to email them about it.
Does he look like someone who knows how to read an email?
He doesn't look like somebody who knows how to read, period.
Exactly.
And still eats Lucky Charms at 7:30 at night in his all-white outfit with his damn horrid Prince Valiant haircut. Oh, God. How the hell is Mark Davis an NFL owner? Sorry.
I don't know. Speaking of Raiders, that's the next game.
Cool.
It is. 9-48.
So the question I have is, did Patrick Mahomes work the spur out of his saddle and actually did do something, or is it just the Raiders being the Raiders?
That is really hard to tell.
I mean, it looks like Mahomes had a decent game. They didn't necessarily have to rely on him as much. 258 for 2 touchdowns on 24 attempts.
Yeah.
So,
and 10 yards per attempt. Cool. Great.
Yeah, good.
But they still don't have a run game.
Well, here's what's interesting. So they have won 6 straight since they got blown out by the Titans.
Mm-hmm. And it's all been...
But one of them was against Giants, 2 against the Raiders, 1 against the Broncos. But then they won a 13-7 and 19-9 against the Cowboys and Packers.
Yep. I mean, they've had 3 of those games where they're under 20 points.
Yeah.
And the Packers team without Rodgers.
Their defense has been showing up.
It has.
And I'm going to be really intrigued to see how they finish the season. Because they're playing Chargers, Steelers, Bengals, which are all teams where, like, they're up and down. When they're hot, they can blow you up. But when they're cold, they're really easy to beat. And then the Broncos, a division game where the Broncos have an up and down. But
it's still a rivalry, and the Broncos like to get up for those.
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see how they finish the season. Especially because they're not exactly like in a solid spot.
We'll say what, a 2-2?
Well, especially because here's the thing: the Ravens are 1 game behind them right now as far as seed, and the Ravens hold a tiebreaker over them. Ravens hold the head-to-head.
Same time, how long is Jackson going to be out? Don't get me wrong; I love seeing Snoop out there.
Jackson is apparently playing because this even goes into the next game, Ravens-Browns. So it's not a high ankle sprain. I'm on top of his injury because that screwed me over in fantasy pretty hard. I lost to my brother because he only had 2 points.
I'm just happy I played Lugo this week because he does not give a shit 1 iota. He put up 60 points, and I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to look at my lineup.
He makes Taco look like an expert. Oh, no. Yep. Mike makes Taco look like an expert. That's what he's doing. Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing. Like, even without Lamar, they still only lost the Browns by 2 points.
Yeah, they lost on a 2-point conversion.
And they're still ahead in the division.
Yep.
They play the Packers, which they might lose that one. But then
rough when you lose your leading running back. So
yeah, so really, if they can get through their next game, they still could be fine.
So the question I have on this is, no Lamar, I get it. They're still a solid team. Is this a fluke for the Browns though? Because I mean, they've been going into the season on paper. They looked fun. You know, they had a lot of weapons on offense. Their defense has been pretty solid over the last 2 seasons. And this year it's been okay, you're still the Browns.
I mean, I think they've had a lot of things going on with him. They've had injuries. Honestly, the Browns, this next game is going to be really telling for them because they have, I think I saw like 8 people on the COVID list now.
Yep. And Baker's on the last year of his contract, isn't he? Or is that next year?
Potentially. I think next year would be his 5th year option.
Yeah.
I want to say.
So it's going to be interesting to see if they try to trade him for capital.
Yeah,
because I could see him ending up in, like, say, Houston.
Yeah. Well, Houston's still like it's going to be really interesting to see how Houston shapes up, just because they're still clearly waiting to see what happens with Watson.
Well, I mean, Rapisberger's played in the league this long; he'll be fine.
Yeah, but he had one.
I could see him going to Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, but again, he had 1 accusation. Watson has a lot more.
2.
Okay, sorry. 2
and
versus
it was more of a just don't let Ben go to clubs because they're both in club bathrooms.
Yeah,
he's a born again Christian. It's fine.
Maybe he's got a pee kink. I don't know.
That's the ultimate out. No, it's good. It's good.
It worked for Ray
Lewis.
Lewis.
To church. I'm fine.
Same division.
Yeah,
have a man in a club.
Do you think Myles Garrett would go after him with a helmet too? This is for losing those damn games.
Yeah, this is your fault. The Browns really should have won by a lot more. Chubb only had 59 yards. Like
Hunt had 3 carries for 5 yards or some stupid 2. Sorry, but still, it's
still.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but if I have Chubb and Hunt, I am going to go Mr. Inside Outside all damn day.
Well, here's the thing. Why I think the Ravens are still in a better place than the Browns. So,
Coaching.
Yeah, the Ravens barely lost. Huntley had a solid stat line for someone taking over for who he did. Yeah, 47-38 for 270 and a TD, 0 interceptions. That's
2 lost fumbles.
That's still, all things considered, especially in the offense they run, where the quarterback has to do a lot more. That's pretty solid.
Yeah,
against a division rival who's nipping at your heels,
and a traditionally stout defense as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I understand, like the Browns, they wanted to attack the secondary because the Ravens have lost both their starting corners for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just don't understand. You have this great run game, you're not going to abuse it and beat them down.
But also, tried to attack the secondary. The Browns still didn't even break 200 yards passing.
Well, and I will say this. I do really like that Myles Garrett is turning into that next level defensive end.
Yeah.
It's one of those games like, was it the J.J. Watt game where he just took over the against the Cardinals.
Went wild.
Yeah. Urlacher game. I mean, you're getting guys that on a defensive player that says, no, I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to win, and here's how I'm going to do it. And it's, for me, a defensive-minded guy, it's really fun to watch a defensive player just go off like that.
Yeah.
And not a Browns fan, but I do like Garrett. I just,
he's a great player.
Yeah.
I'm still honestly not convinced that I have a feeling the Ravens are still going to take that division.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Burrow's been better since he's had Chase. Has 10 touchdowns to him this year.
But at the same time.
But the Mixon is helping that team tremendously. He's only going to run for so long. But the Ravens, you're probably right there. The Ravens are probably going to end up taking the division.
Yeah. It's like when you can still end your game with 2 100-yard receivers with your backup QB, that's a pretty good sign that you're in a good spot.
Yep.
I mean, you want to talk good football?
They ought to draft Covey.
I mean, as long as I think Covey deserves a Super Bowl, I'd be happy with that. But
yeah,
as long as he doesn't go in the next team, which is the Cowboys, which I wish Kiva was here because
bringing your own benches to the game,
dude.
Yeah. I saw that after the game. Like,
you're worried about a team that doesn't have a name and has a stadium falling apart. Has, I don't even know who's starting for quarterback. Was it Hinkie?
Yeah.
Hinkle? Hinkie?
Yeah.
Hankey? Mr. Hankey.
Mr. Hankey.
Yeah, Mr. Hankey.
Yeah, that was something.
About? They were worried that the benches were not up to their standard, being as they are Jerry Jones's Dallas Cowboys. You know, if they're not in Texas, they're in Oxnard. Pinky's up, you know. Cushion on the bench.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Antonio Gibson, I had him on the bench for 2 weeks just because I said, it says he might be injured, he might not. He might be injured, he might not. Screw it, I'm not going to start him. And he get 24, 26 points in this week. I'm like, I'm going to start Gibson.
Yeah, no. That was a rough play.
Yeah.
Because the Dallas Cowboy defense they're getting into their own little Jacqueline Hyde, but I mean, I expected them to play well like they did.
But at the same time, here's really think about this. Okay, the first half, Dallas defense is great. Second half, the Dallas defense gave it 20 points and almost lost the game.
Yep.
I'm out of focus.
That's true.
And not only that, apparently he's focusing too much. Like, not only that, it's like really look at, like, yeah, they had it. There was injuries, but those are mostly like on the offensive side. The Dallas defense didn't really lose anyone in the second half.
No.
And they just started sputtering.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So that's why, like, honestly, like, if I were a Cowboys fan, I would be, yeah, you guys won, but I would not feel comfortable after that win. It's the same way, like, I feel as a Vikings fan, where it's like, yeah, we got this huge lead, and then we still almost lost.
Let me see. Who was I watching? Rich Eisen. He made the same point you did, I want to say 2 weeks ago, that are the Cowboys the Vikings of Texas. And after that game, I'm like, oh,
right?
It is right there.
Yeah, especially because, like, there's really no good explanation for what happened, except for the Washington defense decided, like, hey, we can stop you guys. Mm-hmm. And then the Washington offense started. And here's the other thing. Like, I noticed this in that game, and I also noticed this in the Bucs game. Honestly, the Washington lost that game in the second half. There was a lot of key plays where guys dropped balls that were easily catchable. They were, like, right there. And if they catch those, they win the game. There's basically zero, like, 90% chance they win. But those guys just dropped super easy catches, and that's really where, like, I think there was one where Heineke threw a pass. It was like a long bomb. The guy caught it in his hands and then dropped it for no good reason. And if he had converted, they would have gone on to probably score a field goal or touchdown. But instead, the next play, I think they had like a fumble or an interception. And that's really, I think, what it came down to. And yeah, if I'm Dallas.
Yeah, you're.
Sorry, I went really out of focus there.
I mean,
you're all good. Like, for Dallas, the defense won you the game, like, hands down, because the defense scored points for you. But they almost lost you the game. On top of that, like, you should be concerned that your offense couldn't generate more points. Instead, you got Dak turning the ball over twice.
He's Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, first 6 games of the season, we couldn't shut Sandman up about him.
It's because
and now he doesn't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So much he's not even here.
Well,
I mean,
there was a lot of things. There was also a lot of like where if certain flags had been called, that game would have been different, and that applies to both teams. So, yeah, like I would just be walked away going, "Yeah, we beat that." And here's the other thing: they were this close from losing the driver's seat of their division. If Washington wins that, Washington's down in the driver's seat.
Yep.
And even winning that, you're still have a lead. But yeah, Washington could easily take the division from you. So I would not be sitting comfortable.
At the same time, even though it's the division that has the most Super Bowl rings in it, it has been the worst division for the last decade.
Yeah.
And you'll get that random aberration like, say, the Philly Special, but...
I mean, even beyond the last decade, if you go in this century... You have the Eagles had that one special year, then the Giants against Brady.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
And that's more Eli than anything on that one.
Yeah.
And Tom Coughlin, who I always thought was underrated as a coach.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, he was just like, the dude was like, what, 90 years old by the time he retired, it feels like?
Yep. Well, and the thing is, before they beat Brady the first time, it was Tom Coughlin's on the hot seat. If he doesn't win this year, he's out. They do it. And then the next time they beat Brady before the season, Tom Coughlin's got to win or he's out. And I'm like, shit, give this guy motivation all day.
I know.
Start every season saying he's on the hot seat and they're just like going on a tear.
Yep. It didn't help that Strahan had 22 and a half sacks. No, that was when they lost to the Ravens. Never mind.
No, I thought that was the first year.
No. That was way back in the day.
It blurs together.
It does. Getting old.
Years. Where have they gone?
Right. But they won. But
what it is they're missing Pollard.
Mhm.
That run game isn't dangerous without him.
Well, not only
No.
that, but also they were missing their right tackle, and then they lost their left tackle for that.
Well,
Him
and Tyron
freaking
Smith
out
is,
on what was a legal hit.
yeah. Tyron Smith's going to be out here in the next game too on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And Zeke has some great things he does, but longevity is not one of them. He still hits that rookie wall and falls off at about week 12, if that.
Yeah,
Honestly,
he got injured during the game, so
yeah, but it's.
But that's no excuse for the last 3 games either.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah. He's
it's
not running with the same
been
urgency.
a couple seasons really since he was really like
Since he got paid.
the dominating running back, and it's basically since he got paid. And
Well, same time, first 6 games, he was what, number 2, right behind Henry.
yeah, and on first 6 games, the Bills looked unbeatable.
They will.
And they still made 4 Super Bowls and lost. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like honestly, this year especially, you can't trust the first 6 games.
This year, you can't trust any team. You know, it's like going to Taco Bell and trying to just sneak a quiet fart. It ain't going to work.
I mean, so speaking of can't trust a team, did the Titans turn a corner, or did they just luck out playing the Jags?
I think they lucked out.
Well, here's the thing, though. They brought this up yesterday. So, Rams played the Jags, beat them. Yesterday, they beat the Cardinals. Yesterday, Rams beat the Titans. Do the Titans go on and win their next game? Or is it just a fluke?
I mean, we'll get there, but at the same time, the Jags have so much going on within the organization as far as disarray and players talking smack about the coaches, especially Meyer. Not even like position coaches. Like you got Marvin Jones leaving practice while Urban Meyer's chewing out the wide receiver coach. He leaves, and then he had to be convinced to come back because he's a veteran leader.
Yeah.
They have so much going on that like I went out of my way to drop players and pick up the Titans defense because I knew the way this was going.
Yeah.
But again, go back before 2 weeks ago, everyone was writing off the Rams. They just beat the top team in essentially what was the top team last night.
Well, and I wish I could have been here 2 weeks ago because I'd say, no, the Rams are just adjusting to new leadership in the locker room.
I mean, that and you have to take divisional games with a grain.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals, yes, they're number 1 in the NFC when they played, but they're also a division game. They're a division opponent. And for the most part, the Rams have had the edge over the years. And they go back and forth.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that. It's the Rams were on a 3-game losing streak against the Titans, Niners, and Packers.
Mm-hmm.
They essentially lost to 3 playoff teams.
Yeah.
And then before that, like really, if you look through their whole year, really, the only playoff team they had beaten up to that point was the Bucs in week 3. They lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the Titans, Niners, Packers. So it really was starting to look like, okay, maybe the Rams just lucked out from an easy schedule.
I don't know.
And then they beat the Jags and then not just beat, like they soundly beat the Cardinals last night, really.
And I know we're going to get to Monday night, but I really, I don't know. I just feel like it's more of Stafford adjusting to the offense. Cooper Kupp is having an oh my God season. And he's just trying to get Odell in there because he knows he's a diva.
But so does having the Jags help teams get back on track?
Yeah, the Jags are the practice girlfriend.
Yeah,
exactly. So are we going to suddenly see the Titans reverse the fortunes they've been having? Because the Titans have been on a pretty downward trend.
We'll see, I think. Because either they're going to, right the ship, make that playoff push, okay? Or they're going to that confidence is going to be hubris, and they're just going to tank a game that they shouldn't tank. Like even next week against the Steelers, like they shouldn't lose, but they could. And if they do, because Big Ben only plays in fourth quarter, you're going to question them more.
Yeah.
At the same time, that guy's held together with bubble gum and duct tape. But to your point, Dalton, the Jags are the Leslie of the league. And
I get that reference.
Sorry, I went for a small audience on that one.
That's fine. It's about narrowing down your audience.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah,
I mean, even catapulting off of this, you get your big win, go into the next game, the Lions and Broncos. Lions got their big win, and then just fell flat on their face.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the Broncos had the emotional edge on that one to begin with. I mean, Demaryius Thomas passing kind of really.
Yeah. But also, it's the Lions. Let's be honest. I think they won because the Vikings are just the Vikings.
Don't go.
Yeah, that's not to take away from the Lions. From the Lions, it is one of those I'm sorry, the Vikings are just the Vikings.
It deals what you've talked to me about before, where Zimmer loves to play this weird zone defense that leaves massive gaps.
Yeah.
And yeah, Goff loves to just throw that underneath, which is where he leaves.
That's one of the few defenses he excels in.
That's what it sounds like. Weirdly enough, Zimmer just keeps going back to it, play after play.
But he's a defensive mastermind.
Guru, if you will. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I expected this game to go this way. I played Javonte Williams, which panned out, even though Gordon got all the carries.
Yeah, I mean, it's 15 for 73. It's still solid. I mean, and I feel bad for the Broncos because it does seem like Bridgewater just he's better than Luck. He's better than Drew Luck, but he still just hasn't really been able to get to the next level. And I feel bad for I would love to see him excel.
Same.
And it's one of those because he keeps on getting almost there, and it makes you wonder okay, if he never gets hurt, does he get to that next level, or is it just that's his peak? So I'm curious to see, because also it's really look at the situations he's been in, when he took over for Drew Brees. Yeah, you feel like that was the time to shine, but also that was without Michael Thomas. That was Kamara I think got hurt a few times, so he's never really had that time where it's okay, all the pieces are there, do your thing, and let's see how you go. There's always been something going on with that team.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in bad situations. Good player, showed those flashes that you want to see, but hasn't progressed to that next level. And he's another what if story. To me, Colt McCoy kind of is one too.
Yeah,
really good quarterback, but super prone to injury. I feel like
Sam
he has
Bradford's
to be in the right position. Yeah, Sam Bradford is one. But
yeah, I mean the Broncos won.
And I feel like this is the Broncos' brand of football right now, just running game.
Yeah,
passing game complements that, which is good for them, I think. But
yeah,
especially since they have a decent defense.
Yeah, it's more. It's can they build on it and actually create a winning formula off of it? Really?
Yeah, their big question mark is going to come against a defense that can stop the run.
Yeah. It's can then he take Bridgewater actually take over and do enough to win the game? And it's can he do a Trent Dilfer? What I mean, where it's okay, do enough to keep the game manageable.
Yes.
Which
manage the games.
Herbert, man.
Giants, Chargers. Yeah. He did a little more on a week where you lose your top receiver.
So fun story. When I saw that Allen was on COVID, I was okay, who had a really great game last week? I'll pick him up, and I picked up Jalen Guyton.
Paid off.
Yes.
3 for 87 and a touchdown.
Yep. Well, and again, originally he's projected 8 points, and I was okay, no Keenan Allen. He had a solid game last week. Maybe he'll get me 10 odd points.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Here in PPR, Mike Williams did great.
Yeah.
I lucked out that Eckler got the touchdown before he got hurt.
Just got home and It's raining not raining, snowing quite a bit. She's like,
Snowing.
can you get the garage ready so I can park in there?
You're like, I guess. Sorry, we've already moved on from your win. Sorry, we're already on the.
Do you have final words for your beautiful donkeys?
It's the best one you're going to get all season because you're not a 7-6 team. I'm just going to say it.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm going to say I feel the donkeys is very fitting for them because they're going to get wins, but they're going to be dirty and hard earned.
Yep.
To get any besides Lions.
Yep. You've either had Hallowed be his name, John Elway, or borrowing Peyton Manning for a few years. Outside of that,
outside of his actual neck injury.
Yeah. Actually, post neck injuries when they won it, but it was their defense, not Peyton Manning, that did it.
Yeah, that year they won in spite of Peyton Manning.
That year they won because of Von Miller.
Yep. Like I said, they won in spite of Peyton Manning, not because of him.
Yep.
Well, yeah. You can make the plays needed, just not the deep ball. But we're on Giants Chargers.
And here's the thing.
I'll be there in a minute.
Saquon.
No, she actually means.
Hey guys, apparently I got to run and be dad and husband. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Hey,
it's all right.
It's
We get
Talk
it.
to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye. He left us.
So he left us. He didn't use Jello. Saquon Barkley. Like I remember this from the first episode of this year. Two guys I was like, be careful with was Derrick Henry, because I was like, yeah, he's good, but I think he's due for an injury. And Saquon Barkley, because yeah, he came up bad injured. I don't know if he's going to do it.
Yep.
And so far, he has not been the same guy. I will say
he still had a good game.
He had a good game, but he had not had the games he was having before the injury. Because before the injury, he was people were thinking of him as the same level as Christian McCaffrey. But since then, he's had solid games, and but he has not been that, oh, this guy is going to run away with the game, and there's nothing you can do about it sort of games, really.
Yeah. And I mean, I saw about that to start the season. And I went into it, even in fantasy leagues, like second round pick, I'll risk it. Third round, definitely going to risk it. But they said, based on players watching him, they're like, physically, he looks great. He's ready to go. But you got to get over that mental hurdle, too.
Yeah.
So that you're not going to hit the hole as hard. You're not going to hit someone else as hard. Maybe you're going to hold back on your sprint. So maybe it looks like you lost a step because you're afraid of going full tilt because you might pull a hammy. Or, injure any major muscles in your leg just doing a full sprint, especially coming off an injury. So, yeah, I think he might have a better season next season if he's healthy into like training camp and everything else. But I think the game he had last week, which is 3 receptions, 31 yards, touchdown on the receiving end, 64 yards on the ground. So all-purpose yards are great. Solid for fantasies. RB2. Maybe borderline RB1. That might be the ceiling.
Yeah. Like, especially this year. I'm happy to see Devontae Booker actually start. Like, he hasn't been amazing, but he's been a solid workhorse.
Oh, yeah.
Even with Barkley, which I love to see Booker start doing something. But, and that's also, I think, another problem they have right now. It's like, okay, your top receiver this game was Kyle Rudolph, followed by Barkley, followed by Booker. That's a bad sign.
Yeah. Even going back years to like the Alex Smith days at the Niners, I always felt weird when our tight end was our leading receiver, and then it would be the running back, and then it might even be a second running back, and then another tight end. Like when your receivers are your top receivers, it is weird.
And not only that, it'd be one thing if we were talking like a Kittle or a Kelsey or even like an Ertz or a Goddard, but this is like a 38-year-old Kyle Rudolph in the twilight of his career. He shouldn't be your leading receiver. And granted, it was only on 2 catches, but it's like Booker had 4 catches, and that was your top. Both your running backs had more catches than any of your other receivers. Yeah,
but that's Giants football right now.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yep. But we can get to my game.
Which,
This is why the background.
I mean, props to you for winning, but much as the Cowboys game went,
yeah, it came. Took him wrong. So into the fourth quarter, like I literally had one drink. I was making dinner while watching the game, and I had one beer basically throughout the whole game, just kind of sitting on it. Killed it in the fourth quarter. Opened a new one. Killed that one within the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Got through almost a third when OT was hit. So yeah, like even though we won, like, and it shouldn't take away from Cincinnati. They played a really good game, and they're a good team. And this is one of their they showed up games. Because yeah, they've had games where they don't. So I thought it was a good game. There were some, of course, calls missed, like a PI on Kittle, and
yeah. Well, it's I saw a lot of missed calls for both teams, and there was also calls for both teams. Were like, really? Like it just that felt like a poorly officiated game.
So they officiated another Niners game where I did the same thing, where it was like they let even a Niners offensive lineman get away with something like holding a weird chip block, something like that. But then they call like a weird ticky tack, PI.
Yeah,
and it's like, where's the consistency?
Yeah,
but it's the same crew from I want to say it was Indianapolis, but
well, look at them bright side. At least they were inconsistently consistent for both sides.
Yeah.
I don't think you can argue that they favored either team in that game as far as penalties because they're both times where I'm like, yeah,
all
like
over the place.
But I mean, another thing, and this I kind of saw this in the other game where it's honestly, I think both teams they had quite a few times where it's like their receivers dropped easily catchable balls, and if they had caught those, they probably would have won. And that applied to both of you guys. And that was, I don't know if that's just a lot higher this year, but I feel like we've been seeing a lot more of that where people who either normally catch balls that are like, right there.
Yeah, more drop balls.
Yeah. And not just drop balls, but drop balls for no good reason.
Yeah.
On pretty key conversions too. That's the other one that's really standing out to me. Like it'd be one thing was like, oh, you catch that, it's now you're 3 yards away from converting. Like, no, these were like 10, 15-yard conversions where...
Yeah. Like, the big one I can think of is Benjamin's drop deep, and I'll give to him like it was underthrown, but, I mean, the ball was put in a spot that gave him the best chance to catch it rather than the corners, because if you go over the top, like, the safety had the leverage there, so yeah, I guess I could see why you'd want to underthrow it. And it hit him. He had it. He just dropped it. So, I mean, that's the only one that really comes to mind in that game. Besides that, like I even mentioned to Tyler before the overtime started, I'm like, either Kittle, Debo need to put the team on their back and win this game. And Kittle put the team on his back and won the game, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, that Ayuk conversion, I think, really...
Oh, yeah. You can't pull anything away from that. That's not positive.
Well, and I mean, that whole last drive, really, it's between the 9-yard Kittle catch and the Ayuk 12-yard catch, I think. I mean, actually, like, those were, I think, the two plus the Kittle 21, yeah. Well, and then also there's that deep one to Jennings, but like it's.
Oh yeah.
It honestly, it's that one felt like just the Bengals defense just had nothing left. They were so close, and they just couldn't stop you guys at that point. But they still came close. I think
they did. They dropped a game-stealing INT. Like
and that's what was. And honestly, I think you could tell with that Ayuk conversion. That was where you could really tell. It's like, oh, even before he really got to the sideline, he just got a large enough run on there that it was like, okay, you guys are at worst case scenario. You guys are tying and getting a field goal.
Yeah.
But it really didn't feel like by that point you guys started wearing just because the Bengals defense didn't have it. It was just too long of a game. they fought hard, but now the question is, do you feel like you guys built something off of that, or was that just like escape the skin of your teeth?
I think they do, because in that OT, like, the D line stepped up, and I mean, we lost, I think, Alshire in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
But like, the D line stepped up big time, and it wasn't just Bosa. Bosa stepped up big time, but like, guys we've picked up, like Key, Omenihu, like, Key has half a sack that he got with Ubicom, who they got from the Rams. Like, these guys who are newer to the system, they're starting to step up, which is awesome to see on the D line. I don't have questions about DJ Jones, who plays in the middle. Armstead's been getting better on the inside because they moved him from the outside to the inside. And then Omenihu, who I think is in his third year on a rookie deal that they traded for from the Texans, like, he's starting to get better and getting more play time. He had some key plays. So I think they can build off this. The biggest issue that they're going to have is the corner. They were so busy covering up the corners with the safeties. All they did is they played too deep, which I really like that they were able to do that and stop the run. So I thought that was impressive. They didn't have to stuff the box to stop Mixon.
Which, I mean, that's always a good sign when you don't have to do that to win.
Oh, completely, because Mixon's beast. Like, clicked a button on accident.
I was gonna say that. I was like, I didn't think I clicked anything there. I was just playing the playoff machine, but yeah, no, I mean, like it's. I mean, obviously, you always got to feel good against a win. With a win, that's always got to be a nice feeling. Especially when it keeps you in the hunt with how close things are right now.
Yeah, and it does say that the Niners can fight out a game, and that they can. I'm hoping that this clicks something for their second half chances. They got 3 points in the second half against Seattle. They really didn't get anything in the second half. And if this clicks, they can score points throughout the whole game, not just the first 2 quarters.
Yeah.
I think that'll do wonders for the next 4 games, and it'll be big when they play Atlanta if they can just control that whole game. I'm not feeling as comfortable going into the following games if they can't control Atlanta.
Well, and Atlanta's been an interesting one. Like, even in their losses, they've still been surprisingly effective offensively, which has really surprised me because I was ready to write Atlanta off. But going into this year, I was like,
really just one game, which was when Ridley took his leave of absence. That first game, they were off, I'm sure, because of game planning, but besides that one, their offense has been good, unless they don't have Patterson too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like, in their losses, they've been blown out, but they've still been surprisingly competitive against teams. Like, the fact that they put up 25 points on the Bucks, and that in itself was impressive. And even the second time, like last week when they played the Bucks, it was 30-17, but it's still, on paper, the Bucks should have absolutely destroyed them. It shouldn't have been like anything at all. So
that's a lot of credit to the coaching staff.
Yeah. They have a surprising amount going for them, even with Matt Ryan being where he is and everything. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting game to see how it goes for you guys, I mean, so I think the next game is also pretty interesting because
it became closer than it should have been.
Yeah, and I don't know if I were a Bucs fan, I would not feel thrilled about how that went.
Yeah, because I mean, you had control, and then you just fell apart.
Yeah,
down the stretch, and it got pushed into OT. And if it wasn't for Brady's deal with the devil, Like, you made a win.
Yeah. Well, and like, let's see. So there was that, Fournette run that got upheld, which, I mean, I understand why it got upheld. And there was that pass interference, but it's you really look at the conversions they made. The only one really that was awesome was obviously the final run, obviously, but then it was a 14 yards. Other than that, they were pretty close from getting stuffed and having it come down to sudden death. And considering the trajectory the Bills have been on, I wouldn't feel comfortable about barely winning in a home game.
Yeah, I mean, Bills are going to have it rough coming forward because I think Josh Allen, similar to Jackson, he injured his ankle in this game.
Yeah,
not a high ankle sprain, but he is hurt.
Still.
Hey, you're completely relying on him. He rushed for over 100 yards, threw for 308. Like, you don't have a run game without him. Mm-hmm. You don't really have an offense without him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's and honestly, Buffalo hasn't had a consistent run game, which I think is a symptom of their line has not been there, and that's really it's been apparent, and that's been their weakness. They've been able to win in spite of their O-line.
Yeah,
and I think that a lot of that comes down to just Allen and Diggs and Beasley and Knox. But even their defense has not been what they looked like the first half of the season.
Nope, I have the Bills defense in other leagues, and I swapped them out for the Titans. Like,
I wish I had because I got that 1 point.
Yeah, the Titans got 20, but I just had after last week's game, I'm like, okay, they're probably going to struggle against Brady, who's going to pick out those zones. And then Fournette, who can run the ball, like, they're probably going to struggle. That's what I had the vibe of, and that's what happened.
Yeah. But, I mean, at the same time, it's still, if you look at both those games, they could have won both of those, which is, it's got to be hard as a Bills player, where it's like, you guys have all these pieces, and you're this close, but you've been there for a few years, where you've been right there, you felt like you're on the cusp. But instead of like trending upward, now you feel like you're trending downward. And really, I think their rematch with the Patriots in 2 weeks is really going to be telling of whether they can get to the playoffs or not.
Dig out. Yeah, either they're going to dig out or put that nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
I feel that. And I mean, speaking of kind of struggles, like Packers, Bears.
That was another game where
I felt like the Bears could run away with this.
Yeah, I mean, going into half, it really felt like, okay, the Bears are really close to pulling away. And then it just went sideways for them.
I mean, I'm sure Rodgers flipped the switch and was like, okay, I'm going to start throwing to Devontae. And that's what happened. Devontae goes 121 for 2 touchdowns. Lazard had a good game too, 75 with a touchdown. Jones on limited snaps.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I mean, there was that fumble, which made it a huge difference for him because yes, they converted a 23-yard play for a touchdown, but still that fumble helped right after they drove down the field and got a touchdown. And that's really where they really started to pull away was after that fumble. Then they force a 3-and-out and go into a field goal, and then really it becomes like, okay, punt. But still, that's when you could really start feeling like, okay, the Bears' defense just got worn out because the offense was sputtering.
Yep.
But I will say props to Fields. He did better than I was expecting.
Definitely. Yeah. Same. Those 2 interceptions came later, but I think it would have helped if they stuck with the run a little more. Like,
yeah.
Damian Williams is good. Montgomery came off a great game. You could be able to lean on him. He's got confidence. And Herbert, he only had 1 carry, but Herbert, while Montgomery was down, was running great.
It's telling that Fields was their top rusher and outrushed their next 2 running backs. That's not a good sign.
Yeah,
I mean,
but also you're not committing to it either. So,
Yeah.
and you kind of have to against Rodgers. You have to commit to running the ball to keep him off the field.
mhm.
Otherwise, you're going to give him a chance, and that's what happened.
Oh, and as he showed, give him a chance. Yeah, but
And
I mean,
as confident as probably Packers fans are being in the number 1 seed now, you shouldn't be that confident.
they really shouldn't. I just checked,
yes.
and if Dallas wins and the Cardinals, Bucks, and Packers lose their game, Dallas moves to number 1.
It's pretty funny.
It's really interesting that we are coming up on week 15 yet again. All the division leaders are right there.
Yeah, I worked out a dream scenario where the Niners could win the NFC West. Like,
Yeah.
it takes a lot. It takes a lot of help, but it's like the options there.
Yeah. Which speaking of NFC West, I guess we should finish with that game from last night.
Rams Cardinals.
That was.
I had a feeling the Rams would probably beat the Cardinals, honestly.
Yeah, but I wasn't expecting to go the way it did, really.
It was one of the. To me, I thought it would come down to which pass rush was going to get to the quarterback more. Because they both have a decent pass rush. I think the Rams more than the Cardinals, given they picked up Von Miller, but.
Yeah, but here's what I think was interesting, and we were paying attention because KDN has Hopkins, but he dropped quite a few balls that if you go back even just 2 years, he catches those in his sleep. he used to be like Michael Thomas level. If you throw the ball his way, you know he's coming down with it.
Single hand range, he's got it.
Yeah, it was interesting to see where it was. Let's see, he got targeted 12 times and he only caught 5 of them. Granted, he was double teamed a lot, but still, a lot of those were catchable balls for him. So it's one of those, like, I wonder if it's just like things were going his way, he had an off night, or is it just something's going on? But
yeah, it could have been any and all the above. And like, I know just from listening to just past receivers, if the QB doesn't have that soft touch where they can throw the ball with velocity, but at the same time it's soft in the hands of the receiver, that can cause issues. And if Kyler is under pressure, he's just throwing darts.
Yeah.
He's got a cannon of an arm.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that makes it harder to catch. Like,
that's fair.
Even with your buddies catching a bullet versus catching a loft. But I mean, yeah, you don't expect that from Hopkins at all.
Yeah.
Bullets or not.
I mean, what's also, I think, interesting to me is that despite how everything was, the Rams still came a lot closer to lose than they probably would have liked.
Yeah. I think so.
Like, that was 5 games this weekend that really came down to the last drive. If you really think about it, it's I still can't tell if it's just there's a lot more parity this year, or if a lot of teams are really struggling and haven't recovered from last year. I can't tell. I really can't.
Yeah, I feel like it has to do with how much change we've had to deal with. So outside of major players changing teams, you got your Stafford and your big trades, and even with that, there's the coaching staff changes, and then because you'd expect the consistency within Arizona, given that it's all these younger players plus veteran presence in the same, let's say regime, they would do better. And the expectation should be there that they would lead the division with all this talent on top of, creative young head coach. And the same goes for the Rams.
Yeah. I mean, really, like, on paper, I know Kima likes to talk about, like, on paper, who can beat us, like, who's more talented. Like, really, look at the Rams team.
Yeah. The other top NFC teams are the same, where they have top on paper players.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's hard to mesh them all together too.
Oh yeah. That I'm sure that plays part into it, but it is one of those where it's interesting to see essentially these all-star teams who have had most of their pieces playing together for a while when you really think about it, but they are still haven't really become that dominant team. And it's really interesting to try to all we can do is really speculate. Like, okay, why is that it? Because that's the other thing is it hasn't really seemed like there's a good reason why it hasn't really clicked. Like even go before they brought in OBJ and they lost Woods, the Rams were already starting to show some vulnerability.
Yeah, there was an announcer who said it pretty well. It was after the Niners game. The Rams can't handle these like gritty physical games, like these dirty fights.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they've lost in the past. Because like even the Packers, they pushed through them. They didn't finesse. When the Rams offense is this finesse offense, it's very clean, calculated. And when you get a defense who can disrupt that timing, it has a hard time. So I thought that was an interesting take.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take.
I'm like, yeah, given any offense, you get pressure on the quarterback, you're gonna have a better chance to win. But let alone like there are specific teams who, like Bosa coming off the edge, or like the Smith brothers, whoever. They kind of get an edge. I don't know if it's schematically that way, and if we're just in this weird rock paper scissors battle, like just on paper, and then it comes down to who's going to execute their game plan better, and that's who's going to win.
I mean, that could definitely be it. I mean, one thing with the Rams, though, it's if you really look at it, I think losing their run game at the start of the season like they did has hurt them a lot more than even people expected. Like Henderson hasn't been playing as well as you'd expect him to, being the feature running back. Because when he was taking over, he was great, but he hasn't been the same. And Sony Michel, he's like before here, everyone kind of viewed him as more like a passing running back. He wasn't really like that bruiser. He did a decent job last night, but still, that's really seems to be what's hurting them. And I'd be interested to see, like, in like a what if scenario, how different would the season be going for the Rams had they not lost those guys they did? And really just one of those two. If they still had one of those two running backs that they lost at the start of the season, would they be doing a lot better? Would they be the front runners? Would they be the Cardinals right now?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's a good question because you can always play the what if game. Like, keep doing that. Like, what if these injuries didn't happen? And I mean, I'll give the Cardinals credit. They've made a lot of adjustments. They're relying more on the running game. James Conner showing up. And that's something that they've been missing is that running game. I mean, he didn't do great, but he was the guy in the passing game. So Connor was like the guy.
He still beat me in fantasy with his 30-odd points.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 94 yards receiving and then 2 touchdowns on the ground. Like, I think without them, this game would have gone a lot worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it's a division game. Who's not to say the Rams drop out of division games coming up?
That's fair. That is fair. Let's see. Should we just power through these games then next week?
Yeah, why not?
So I'm going to try to keep on top of this with our picks. So let's start with, Chiefs Chargers. Who do you got? Or actually, here, are you pulling up the playoff machine?
I can actually.
Yeah, let's actually pull that up so that we can mark the picks that way.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, come on. Just need this to snap over.
Oh, never mind. Looks like the Lions are officially eliminated as of this week now.
Oh.
So it's Jets, Texans, Jags, and Lions are the only 4 teams officially out of the hunt. So, all right. So Chiefs, Chargers. That
is a doozy.
Yeah, hard to gauge, really. Especially being a Thursday night game. That's what really makes it even harder.
So this will, I think it'll determine and show if the Chiefs are actually this playoff team or if they just had these easy matchups and fumbled their way into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
it's. But at the same time, it's the Chargers have just not been a consistent team this year,
They've been the
especially on
same.
defense. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like the Chiefs' defense is peaking at the right time compared to the Chargers. Like they both have a great offense, but just based on how they played recently, I feel like the Chiefs' defense has been doing better more consistently. So that's why I would lean that way.
Mhm.
But it's one of those, I don't say confident saying, oh, yeah, Chiefs are going to take this, no problem.
So to me, I think if Eckler plays, because he's injured, I'd lean Chargers. And especially if they get Allen back off the COVID list. If those two things happen,
Yeah.
I'm more confident the Chargers. If Eckler's ruled out with that ankle injury, because he practiced today, limited participation, but he did practice, so that's a good sign. Yeah, I'll lean Chiefs, because then they gotta completely rely on Herbert throwing the ball, 40 times, and that's going to be rough with Kansas City having their pass rush back.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, I'm not confident in picking the Chiefs.
I'm not confident picking either one.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Yeah. Raiders Browns.
Right now, I'd lean Browns.
What's funny is right now I lead Raiders just because the Browns are missing so many people due to COVID. It's like, hang on, let me find exactly who all they're missing.
Oh, they're missing a lot, but as long as they don't miss Hunt or Chubb, I think they could pull it off.
Well, but so here's what's interesting. They are missing Jarvis Landry, their offensive guard Wyatt Teller, tight end Austin Hooper, left tackle Jedrick Wills, DN Tack McKinley, punt return JoJo Natson, their backup guard Drew Forbes, and their reserve tight end. So they're down their starting guard, a backup guard, starting tight end, backup tight end, left tackle, top wide receiver. That's pretty rough.
Actually,
that's pretty rough.
I'll flip it. Let's go that way, because that's a lot to be missing, especially on the O-line.
Well, and it's one thing to be missing starters, but to miss your starter and your depth, that's when it starts to get a little dicey.
Yeah, especially when your depth alone was also
shaky. Yeah, that one's interesting. Then that game, I know who I would pick, but that is, I think, a huge game as far as seeding and everything. Because
I mean, if we go here, then you go here.
If the Pats win, I think they're going to run away with the top seed.
Same.
But if they don't, it could easily come down to the last 2 weeks. And the Colts have enough there that they could do it at home.
Yeah.
Because all you really need is Taylor to run over the Patriots. That's all you really need.
Well, yeah, you absolutely need that. It's not like that's all you need. You absolutely need Taylor to be able to run in this game, because Wentz is going to give some balls up. He's going to give the Patriots defense a chance. But to me, for that reason, I might lean Patriot. New England. But yeah, I wouldn't count out Indianapolis at home for one. Taylor healthy, and then if Wentz just makes the plays he needs to make and doesn't do anything extra.
I mean, I feel like the Pats should be winning this one, but I'm actually leading the Colts for the reason of I think they have a better run game, and on top of that, while Jones might be the more efficient passer, I think the Colts have a better receiving core. meaning they have a higher potential for explosive plays. Like I would take Hilton and Pittman over basically
Bourne.
anyone, any of the receivers on
And the other
Patriots.
guy.
Yeah, and especially if it was in Foxborough, I would totally take the Patriots, no question.
Yeah. But
But
at the same time, take a look here.
yeah, I guess that is an interesting stat.
That is.
Yeah, it's. I still am leaning the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts have the ability to put pressure on Jones.
Yeah,
they have a really good front four. So yeah, I can see go this way definitely, especially home field advantage if they get the run game.
Well, no, if the Colts get the run game going, then now it's can't be one of those. Oh, you can just rely on your run game to win. Now Mac Jones has to put the game on his shoulders, and can he do that? So
you have to be able to score points in a short amount of time, but I mean that can also flip the other way too.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that like there's no way the Patriots doing this. It just this one feels like tip place for me. I could see the Colts pulling it off.
So we'll mark that Colts, but probably mark it. It's kind of like an upset almost.
Well, here. You mark this one how you're thinking. I have another one I'm marking the way I'm picking because I want to see how it shakes out. Let's see how they're different. So, which one do you pick?
I'm curious. You know what? Let's see something interesting. What's interesting is they're both coming off their bye.
That actually is interesting.
That is. Because I wanted to see which team was coming off their bye. Because I'm like, okay, I know Indianapolis is. So I'm like, okay, they had 2 weeks to prepare, but they both had 2 weeks to prepare. But I think I'll stick with this.
We'll stay with the Colts.
Just given how much trouble, like it was 14-10 was what New England had against the Bills. Yeah. And I feel like at this point right now, Indianapolis is a little more of a complete team compared to the Bills.
Yeah, the Colts have a run game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be interesting to see, and that might be their edge here.
Speaking of the Bills,
I'm just gonna flip that switch.
Yeah. I mean,
I wholeheartedly expect them to win.
Yeah, I don't see the Pats pulling that one off. I mean,
they somehow still have #1 defense, but I didn't realize Carolina #2. But right there,
they have a good defense. They're just their offense has been ineffective, to put it mildly.
Yeah, turning the ball over.
Yeah,
rough days.
Speaking of ineffective offense,
let me just flip that switch.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think
that's the way. Yeah.
So the next. Let's just go ahead and skip straight on to that. I don't think we have to explain that other pick.
Yeah, no.
This one I don't know.
This is this is the most questionable pick, and this one we feel.
Yeah,
I'm sure the odds are going to be real close on those.
This one I just.
Yeah, this is a giant. Who knows?
Yeah,
Washington Null. I like it.
I mean,
the Eagles have played better on the road than they have at home, but statistically, right here in front of us, the Eagles should have the edge. Foot Null team.
So they should, but the heel, what's really derailed the Eagles is you shut down. Well, and that's actually what makes it really interesting is so if you shut down Hurts, you don't have to win. Problem is Hurts going to be playing?
Yeah, that is the big question. And Minshew hasn't been bad. And then also, is Heineke going to be 100%?
Yeah.
Because he got injured in that game against the Cowboys. I think it was a throwing shoulder, of all things.
Was it a shoulder? I remember seeing him limp, but I don't remember the shoulder issue.
He might have got it twice, because early in the first half, he was having shoulder worked on.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's that one. Ooh, you know what? I'm actually going to go with Washington because also look at that matchup. So click on the matchup there.
Yep.
Notice the Eagles' record at home.
Yeah, and like I took that in consideration. Curious. I'm gonna check the odds.
It's Philly. Yeah, well, those are close odds. Who's in their home loss? Niners, Chiefs, Bucks, Chargers. Well, that doesn't clear anything up.
So
Yeah.
it looks like it's Washington plus 4.5, Eagles minus 4.5. It's 4.5 difference, so it is pretty close.
Yeah, like to me, the deciding factor is just the Eagles' record at home for me.
Yeah, I would lean with the odds, because let's be honest, this is a must-win for Washington.
Yeah,
if they want to be in not only the playoff race, I mean the Eagles too, because if you flip that switch, literally they're playing for seeding.
Yeah.
But it puts them in the race too for the division. On top of that, like they were close against the Cowboys. They should, depending on if McLaurin plays, because he's out, I think, with a concussion.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I would definitely roll this way because the Washington defense, I think, is a bit better than Philadelphia's defense.
Yeah. And that's really deciding for me is I think Washington has better defense. And while, Minshew had a great game last weekend, let's be honest.
He's not consistent.
Yeah, it's Minshew.
I love Minshew mania, but
yeah. He was a great QB in college, but he has not panned out. Yeah, that one seems like a safe pick.
Yeah, I'm just gonna click the button.
Yep.
Over here, this might be fun actually to watch. We'll go this way, but
that's interesting because I would go the opposite way just because I think the Jags defense will be enough to overcome their inept offense.
See, I lean this way because I think the Houston defense could help out, and to me, the Houston offense is also, they're not the worst.
Yeah, but it's also, hang on, let me go there.
And the Jags offense likes to give up turnovers.
Yeah. But the caveat I would add there is I think the Jags have the better run game.
They're not using it.
They're not using it, but I think they have the better run game, and that's why I would look that way.
Completely.
And also, the Jags' only wins have been at home.
That's fair. You know what? I would totally go with it. Jags, as long as they play James Robinson.
That's fair. Yeah. If they run the ball, I think the Jags win. If they don't, then even their defense, I don't think can overcome it.
If he is another weird healthy scratch, only getting 3 carries, like Urban Meyer should be fired. Like,
I mean, well, honestly, he should be anyways.
Yeah, he should be in general, but like they really got to question him at that point and be like, why?
Yeah.
Your best player isn't on the field. And then over here.
Now, this is an interesting one to me because I think the Cowboys should win, but it's a division game. And the Cowboys, they just have not been the same team the last few years. Like, the last few games, their defense has been solid, but also giving up points they probably shouldn't have. If Dallas wins this, though, I think Dallas takes the division. At that point, I don't see Washington taking it, so I think Washington's more interested in this one than I am.
Yeah, I want to say I calculated it out. So, given if they drop, I think the next game, because they play the Cardinals coming up. I won't say week 17 here.
Yeah,
somewhere
next week they play Washington again.
Yeah, it depends. If they could be Washington again, yeah, they got it locked down. and it seems like the Giants aren't going to have Daniel Jones, so it's going to be Glennon again. So I would not even be worried.
Yeah,
Glennon's
but
gonna
again,
get
like,
12.
because basically, so if Dallas wins this, then Washington needs to win out, and then they also need the Cowboys to lose all their next games.
Yep.
So Washington needs Dallas to lose this first shot of the division.
Yep. Then Pittsburgh and Tennessee.
I mean,
this is where I want to go. But you can't count out Pittsburgh. But at the same time, I think they could hold on.
I think they can. But I would not. If you tell me, oh, the Steelers blew out the Titans, I wouldn't be surprised at this point because the Titans just clearly, Derrick Henry was their offense. It is clear that. Well, I mean, I'll only tell you about the Titans if you remember who they are. Do you remember the Titans?
The mighty Titans.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I think they win.
I think they do too. And so Joe Hayden, Robert Spillane, Isaiah Buggs, center Husnair, tackle Joe Haig, defensive tackle Carlos Davis, all for the Steelers. They have a chance to come back this week, along with TJ Watt. I think if TJ Watt doesn't come back, for sure, you shouldn't doubt this. I think without him, they might struggle a little bit against the run. And Tennessee will take it with
the
mediocre
run game still hasn't really been there.
It's not great without Henry, but it's serviceable. It gets them enough yards to get easy first downs. So at the Titans, we are. Denzel.
That's the Titans only win if they get Denzel back.
Yes. Denzel needs to join. I'll lean Titans because I think their defense can play better.
I think that's fair.
I mean, initially I want to go here.
Yeah?
And then that puts them also in the playoff picture.
Yeah, it does. Not only that, but it knocks out both the Broncos and the Bills from the playoffs. That's interesting.
That is.
I do feel I'm leaning Bengals just because offensively I think they have a better offense. And I think the Bengals defense will do enough to keep it tight before their offense pulls away. But the Broncos could surprise us.
I think they could too, but I think that's what it would be. It would be a surprise. So that's why I'm like Bengals.
Yeah,
because I mean they have a good defense. Don't get that wrong.
Yeah,
but Burrow's pretty good at avoiding pressure, and even while getting hit, he threw perfect balls. That was so impressive.
He reminds me of a Herbert who isn't good at scrambling in the sense that where the dude can throw the ball, but he gets pressured way too much, and he's just having to really run for his life way too much. You put him against a solid O-line, he could tear up an offense. Tear up pick apart a secondary, but he needs that O-line. He really does.
He does, and part of that's probably coming off of torn MCL.
Yeah,
so
I honestly kind of expect him to really still have that kind of where we know the guy can throw the ball, especially under ideal circumstances. But look at what he did in his final year in college. Like the dude ran through college because he had an amazing team. But you get to the NFL where there's a lot more parity, and I had a feeling where he was going to run into a lot more of this. We know you can throw it, but can you throw it when you're constantly getting chased down because you have an line that can block you for days? And that's what I think we're kind of seeing is it's a lot easier to throw him off his game. And that's not to say he won't eventually get better, but as a rookie, it seems like he's getting used to the speed because he didn't have last year getting hurt.
Yeah, that's fair. I still go this way. At least I do.
Yeah,
So,
I still lean that way.
Yeah, I feel better about it. I would totally be proud if the Broncos could pull off that win, though. Like, it'd be impressive.
Yeah,
but go that way.
So, how do you feel about this one?
I mean, yeah, let me go here. This okay.
That is interesting to see.
Oh yeah, no, our yeah.
No, like both of you guys had the identical road records and a terrible home record.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting.
I'm still gonna go this way.
I mean, yeah, I understand why.
You know, but I'm not going easily this way.
Yeah, I think you guys have a pass rush and you have a more consistent run game, whereas the Falcons are Patterson and that's it.
Yeah, it also depends that we should hopefully be getting Elijah Mitchell back for this game. He should hopefully be coming out of concussion protocol because that's the only reason he didn't play last week is because of the concussion. So I think, we get him back. I'm more confident here too. But Wilson had some good flashes, so we'll see.
Yeah. And the Falcons are a good team to kind of be like, well, we need to get people back and get healthy because they're still the Falcons.
Yeah.
Green
Bay and Baltimore.
This one, I think, comes down to Lamar.
Yeah, I think if Lamar plays, I have no issues clicking here. Green Bay struggles against mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah. But again, it's like Huntley showed enough that I think he could still pull it off, especially with it being at home. Like, yeah, Packers are undefeated at home, but on the road, 4-3. You know, that's not amazing. And like you look at their offensive defensive rates, it's almost a wash in the sense where Ravens better offense. So honestly, even with Huntley, I still am leaning towards Ravens.
I mean, we can go that way. It could be an upset. Like, I'm gonna click this just to see how it shakes out. Because look, Cincinnati plops in. If that goes the way we expect it, Green Bay stays in one seat. But this is a must-win for Baltimore. I hope Jackson plays, not only just because of my own personal gain out of that, but I think he gives them the best chance to win because letting Jackson run the ball, not undesigned runs, but just be like, hey, go 1-2 read and then run. Like, that's what any mobile quarterback has done to them, and they struggle with it. Over here.
This one feels like it should be the Rams, just because at home against a depleted Seahawks.
I mean, not so much anymore. Like, they got their minus.
They're getting healthy, but their run game is still, their running back room is still a hot mess.
Yeah. But I mean, if they employ, I don't know, this one's gonna be fun to watch. Like, just personal preference, because the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator came from the Rams. He was an offensive assistant under McVay. So they're running similar offenses in that field, which is also similar to Shanahan's. So I'm curious to see if the Seahawks get the running game going. If they do, I think they win. They can bruise it out with the Rams because their defense isn't bad. Like, even though they're ranked 32, like, they even said it in the Niners game, like in these key areas, which is red zone, third down efficiency, I think they just give up the most yards.
Yeah.
They're still good.
Yeah, well, and it's a division game, so anything could happen. And again, like, I'm still not confident the Rams have proved that they're turned it right of the ship, but
yeah. So I click here, but I wouldn't be surprised if this happens. At all.
So,
I mean, it should go this way.
It should, but every team has their kryptonite, and it just really does feel like the Saints are the Bucs' kryptonite.
Let's see what happens. Click here. To go here. Dallas bumps up to the number 2, eh?
Ooh. All that was just
one flip of a switch. Because this is harder to gauge because the last they played, they're 6-0 at home, so that might help. But Winston was the quarterback, and when the Saints won last time they played.
That's interesting. How are you getting different results than me?
Or
no, somehow I have. Okay, there we go. Well, I was trying to figure out, like, how is it so we literally had the exact same game selected except for one, and I had very different results.
Which one?
And it's because somehow I had a Week 16 game selected.
Oh.
That makes sense. Let me get back to where we were. Okay.
So, yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so there's Dallas jumping up.
Yep. And I mean, okay, I think this would be more of a shock than this is the way it should be. Given, Sean Payton, yes, he could play Brady, but if they go to a run-first offense like they have before, play good defense, and make... I forgot his name.
Well, so here's what's interesting, though. You look at... So their earlier game, the Saints won with Trevor Siemian.
Oh, yeah, that does change it a bit.
They won with Trevor Siemian and Alvin Kamara, who's back.
Yeah. So there's a real shot that this happens.
Yeah.
At that point. And then they're in playoff race at that point.
Mm-hmm. But granted, that game was also in New Orleans.
That's
so
true.
That plays into it.
I do feel safer here. That record.
But the other caveat to that is the Bucs really didn't have Gronk for that game.
That's true. They do have him now.
Yeah, like that was when he was coming back from his injury, and then he played like a
he
bit and got hurt again.
Yeah.
But the Saints had Trevor Siemian. So it should be the Bucs.
Expectation is here.
Yeah.
But if this happens, don't be too shocked.
Well, again, it's like, every team has a kryptonite. If the Saints meet the Vikings in the playoffs, they're probably losing. Just like apparently the Tom Brady can't get over the Saints.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you're back, actually.
Okay. I mean, I'll just kind of put on a show here. Let's see. Man, I don't know. I want to see if there's a way to get... Let's see. So if we only have 4 teams eliminated, based on this, if we pick this right here. So what would be the most chaos I can generate here? If we go that way, that way, that way. Let's really throw some wrenches into everything. Let's see. Ooh, that gives us some interesting results. And unfortunately, no one can see my interesting results here. But I'm generating chaos.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, you're back. Because I was sitting there trying to okay, let's do something fun with my playoff machine. But I realized no one can see what I'm doing on my playoff machine. So
No.
it's only interesting to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
they should be able to beat Matt Nagy.
They should. They're going to Chicago. Yeah, it should flip this way, which is funny. Or if that. Huh. That's kind of interesting.
Wow, that is a big. And that's
so even if
because
the Saints
if the Vikings.
win.
Oh no! Even if the Vikings lose, that's wow. I didn't realize how important that game is. The Bucs Saints.
Yeah, for the Saints, it's everything.
But even for the Bucs, you're talking going from the number 1 seed to the number 4 seed.
Yep. Because
you go from having to bye to having to play the Rams. That's big. That is big.
Yep. So there's big implications on these. I mean, that's expectation. But again, if that goes the other way, not much changes. Besides, Cincinnati now is in the driver's seat over here. They're ahead in the division. That's also given the Raiders win. Otherwise, they're still in it.
Well, here's what's also interesting. So if the Chiefs win, look at what happens. Because that's what I have on mine.
They move here.
That completely changes the NFC, the AFC.
Then
yeah, so that's a huge game. I mean, also on top of that, honestly, your game against the Falcons is a big game for you.
Oh yeah,
because that's the difference between you or the Falcons being in the playoffs.
Not even, because if Minnesota wins.
Oh yeah, Minnesota wins.
I mean, even if you don't, then Atlanta's there because they win our tiebreaker. I mean, really, we've hit playoff football 4 weeks early.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also we've hit the point where people can't rest their starters. We haven't hit that point, and we very well could see most teams having to play their starters all the way up to week 18.
Yeah,
just because of how much jockeying is going on.
Yeah, interesting weeks ahead. I feel like it rarely happens. Normally by week 17 by this new standard, majority of starters are getting rested.
Like week 17, I think. Well, okay, week 17 is when you're really going to know.
Yeah,
if you have locked it up or not. But I honestly don't even know really who can lock up the game by next week. It really depends on how this weekend goes.
This is me basically just clicking, but
well, it's like, okay, so if you go through and pick the top seed, the higher ranked team in every one of the remaining games.
And I left this one blank, but curious. Let's say they drop it.
Yeah, even so, okay, like even using what we just picked, if you go to week 16 and only pick the team with the higher, with a better record every time. So in that case, you'd have Colts, them over them, then over them. It still gets pretty. Yeah, it's still coming down to the week 18.
Yep. Let's see, click here. This weekend. This doesn't matter. The Niners drop week 16. Change the seeding if we win or lose.
Like so, you like if you just go from week 15, 16, and 17, if you pick the team with the higher record every single time, you still enter week 18 with Tennessee and Kansas at 12-4, New England and Baltimore at 11-5, so they're both one game behind, and then you have Tampa and Arizona at 13-3 with Green Bay at 12-4. So then if you go into that week, let's see. So let's again assume higher ranked seed wins. Yeah, then those games still become must-win for them. Because if Carolina knocks off the Bucks, they go from first to third. If Seattle knocks off Arizona, they would go from second to third. If the Lions beat Green Bay, they go from third to fourth. If the Rams beat you guys, they knock you out of the playoffs at week 18. Again, assuming the better record wins every game. Yeah, that makes basically that whole last part of the season become real huge for basically all the top teams. Like Tennessee and Tampa would still control their destiny at that point. But even then, they still can't comfortably rest their starters because if they lose, they go from a bye to playing. So we could very easily still end up with a situation where the top teams are still fighting for that one bye.
Yeah. The season's probably going to come down to the final week 18.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because...
Yep. Makes for good football.
Yeah. I am ready for some foosball. But we'll be ready until Thursday. So until then, I feel like we had a good run for this evening.
Yep. Don't forget 2 games on Saturday.
Which is still so weird to me.
Because of, it is, but yeah, keep it in mind.
Here I thought I had Saturday off to actually catch up on everything so I don't do Sunday. Alas.
Final stretch of football. That's what we've hit.
That home stretch, just a few more weeks, man. A few more weeks.
We'll just leave on that for everybody. Yeah, don't cramp up. Don't tear that ACL. Gotta hit that final stretch.
Drink that pickle juice.
Oh, yeah.